It's week 10, and the start sit decisions are getting even more difficult this week. So, Dave Kluge and I are going to be looking at some sleepers that you could put into your fantasy lineups. I'm Alfredo Brown. Welcome into the Football Guys Fantasy Football Show. Dave, we have over 70 players to talk about. It always kind of comes around to this many players. What we did was we took some sleepers, some players that maybe you are struggling with start sit decisions on, and some players that we think need to be in your lineups. We'll talk about a little bit more than that too, and we're going to go through all these names like we've done in the past. We'll sort of glide through the first couple tiers here because for the most part, you know what to do. Dave, let's start with the running backs because I do think there is one talking point that we need to have here in this first tier. So let me list the
James
running
Cook.
backs. You're there. We're there. We're mind
Yep.
meld.
Yep.
So this tier, number one, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Bijan Robinson, Jameer Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Rico Dowdle, and Josh Jacobs. But let's talk about James Cook because Cook has not been able to practice yet. This is a juicy matchup going up against the Dolphins. And we really don't have any new news as of right now. We are recording this Thursday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. If let's just talk about both scenarios. If James Cook is good to go, he's a top two, top three running back on the week. I think that's just easy to say, right?
100%. Yeah, he'd be my number two behind Christian McCaffrey. And if he isn't ready to go, I've seen a lot of discourse about like, well, if you look at the snap shares, Ty Johnson has actually been the RB2 here. This is one of those situations I think where people are just really misreading the tea leaves here. I think Ty Johnson, his role won't change whatsoever. I think Ray Davis is the guy that gets dropped into the James Cook role. So I don't care what Ty Johnson was doing or what Ray Davis has been doing these first 9 weeks of the season. It has been very clear that Ray Davis is the RB2 when they need a workhorse back. We saw it in the one game last year that James Cook missed. We saw 150 scrimmage yards from Ray Davis. He was the clear guy there. Ty Johnson is very good at coming in and catching passes on third down, and that will remain his role. But I do think a lot of people are misreading this situation. I've seen a lot of people picking up Ty Johnson. Ray Davis is the guy that would be next up if James Cook has to miss any time.
Well, I think a lot of this too is as much as we don't want to admit it, it's going to end up on game script. And I think conventional wisdom tells you that the Bills should absolutely destroy the Dolphins in this game. But sometimes these games go the other way and it becomes a little bit of a shootout back and forth. And I'm not, this is not, I'm listen, guys, I know I'm a Miami boy. Like, this is not me caping up for the Dolphins and saying it's going to be a
Oh, but we
close
just
game. I'm
saw them
saying
like lay a whooping on Atlanta a few weeks ago.
that's the
Like
thing.
weird things happen. Yeah, like we want to like look at the over unders and the odds to help us get an idea of the game script. But at the end of the day, any given Sunday, like weird things happen.
Yeah. And the other thing too here, this isn't a tangible thing. Josh Allen absolutely owns the Dolphins. He does not lose. They lost, I believe it was once in Josh Allen's career. That was the crazy game at Hard Rock Stadium where it was like 110 degrees and the whole team was just cramping up there on the final drive, and it just went to heck. Um, this could be one of these games. Josh Allen scores 3 touchdowns, and the running back actually does not matter, right? Dalton Kincaid is another guy to consider here because the Dolphins are so susceptible to tight ends. I'll say this, Dave, to go back to the running back situation there. I think you're right. I think Ray Davis becomes the primary back. I think the role probably grows a little bit more for Ty Johnson. But then let's do the narrative street. Let's go down that and say Bills are up 4 touchdowns. We're entering the fourth quarter. Let's give these garbage time touches to Ray Davis. There's no need to have Ty Johnson out there catching passes. Let's just run the clock out, let Ray Davis get to 20 touches in the game. That seems to be way more likely than anything else that we might see out of this backfield.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing too, if you look back at last year, Ray Davis did get 3 targets in that game that he got to start too. So
Mhm.
this is a guy
Oh, he can
when you
catch. He,
yeah
he's a,
when you
he's actually a very good receiver and good pass blocker.
right, and I think that a lot of people see him, and he's got this like very stout frame, like he looks like an early down grinder, but kind of reminds me of Leonard Fournette, where he does have that stocky build, but like pretty good route runner, soft hands out of the backfield as well. So I mean, let's just hypothetically, first of all, we spent so much time talking about this, and James Cook could practice today, and it all looks silly, but just for the
Sure.
sake of conversation, if we say James Cook is out in this game, Ray Davis, I think he'd be inside my top 8. Like I'd have him right next to Rico Dowdle in my rankings
Oh,
this week.
I don't know about top eight. I don't know about top eight, but he'd definitely
That
be in my
matchup
top
against Miami,
20.
a 3 down back against Miami. I mean, like that's one where I'd
But
yeah, I
will
think
it,
I'd have him ahead of Josh Jacobs and behind Rico Dowdle.
Oh no, you're taking the smelling salts too early in the morning. I'm not there. I'm I can see him being top 20 and have him around the Kamani Vidal Brees Hall area. Um, he has 3 down capabilities. They're not just going to bench Ty Johnson though either. So yeah, let's not go too crazy on this, but I think everybody gets it.
I
Let's go
will
down
go
to
too crazy.
we have seen that. We know. Let's go to tier number 2. Starting with Kyron Williams, got Derrick Henry, Jalen Warren, Quinshawn Judkins, J.K. Dobbins, Ashton Jeanty. And Dave, Ashton Jeanty's a guy I talked about a little earlier in the week where the Raiders offense is just lacking all creativity, but Jeanty is still getting a lot of work in the passing game. So that's something where he continues to be an auto start each week. I don't think we need to overthink that. Quinshawn Judkins coming back from his AC joint sprain that was over the bye week, seems to be good to go. And then Jalen Warren is another guy who's become just an auto start every single week. That Pittsburgh backfield is not changing. The guy I want to bring up here is someone we talked about a little bit earlier in the week is Kyron Williams, where there's this misconception that Blake Corum is starting to take more and more and more of a role when in reality, that's not quite what's happening.
Yeah, I don't want to like call people non-ball knowers or anything like that. I don't want to be like
Don't say
rude, but
that.
at the same time, like people who are saying like, "Oh, Blake Corum's taking over the backfield," all you're telling me is that you just watched Red Zone on Sunday because for whatever reason they really focused in on this one drive where Blake Corum was getting a lot of touches, but the actual split, the 65-35 split between Kyron Williams and Blake Corum is exactly what we've seen for the last month. He didn't get any more work in this game. His efficiency was exactly the same as it's been. Kyron Williams still had over 100 yards and a touchdown like he does almost every single week, but for whatever reason, Red Zone really focused in on this Blake Corum drive. So Blake Corum still like if you are really desperate for a flex play, sure, you could put him in there, hope that he scores a touchdown. But this is still Kyron Williams' backfield, and we both have him ranked as an RB1.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not too much to go over here with these top 2 tiers. A lot of it is just make sure you're paying attention to practice reports on guys like James Cook. But other than that, I think we're good to go with each of them. Let's go down to tier number 3, where it starts with Travis Etienne, Rashad White, Trevion Henderson, Breece Hall, Kamani Vidal, David Montgomery, and DeAndre Swift. Dave, this is where I think we can start to talk about guys who are maybe not surefire starts, but we are willing to start them. Is there anyone from this tier that you're saying, okay, I want to get him into my lineup?
Well, I think what we need to talk about in this tier most specifically is DeAndre Swift because he was a DNP to start the week. So we don't know if
Yep.
he's going to be practicing or not. And if DeAndre Swift isn't in the game, we saw what Kyle Monangai can do. Like he is very much so going to be a workhorse. And they did bring in some veterans for workouts earlier in the week. But you look at this matchup against the Giants, it's a pretty nice matchup for a running back. So we both kind of have DeAndre Swift in here as like a sort of placeholder right now, but pay close attention to that because if he doesn't play, then I think Monangai goes right back into the high end RB2 discussion.
So you and I have a very different ranking here on Monangai and Swift, where I think even if Swift is healthy, I've got Monangai and Swift back to back because of what could be potential game script here. Maybe not as much passing. There could be some big plays from Swift, but there is a bit of a ride the hot hand type deal going on here. Ben Johnson has come out and said, like, we are going to make this an open running back competition. Are we ignoring that? Is it coach speak? Because you seem very, very confident. DeAndre Swift goes right back into his previous role. Kyle Monangai just gets rescinded back into where he was at.
Yeah, I mean, DeAndre Swift wasn't playing bad football. I've seen so many people make the Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle comp. Chuba Hubbard was terrible before he got injured and Rico Dowdle came in and took that job. DeAndre Swift, in his 3 games coming out of the bye, he averaged 120 scrimmage yards and scored a touchdown in every single game. Like, he was ripping off big plays. He was doing everything Kyle Monangai did. And I understand the excitement with Monangai, but his backfield competition last week was Britton Brown, who hadn't played a snap in almost 2 years, and Travis Homer, who was like a pure special teams player, and he gets to go up against the defense that was allowing more fantasy points to running backs than any other team, the defense that allowed more broken tackles than any other team. So I think it was just like a great matchup. I don't want to overreact to this too much. If DeAndre Swift was playing poorly early in the year, I might be a little bit more buying into this Monangai hype, but Swift was playing really well. I don't think that they're going to bench a player who is doing well when he wasn't even that injured. Like, I think they knew this was the week that DeAndre Swift could take off. Ben Johnson talked about like benching him or giving him the week off to protect him from himself because he's been dealing with this groin injury. But I think once he's back, he just brings an explosive, big play element that you're not getting from Kyle Monangai.
I think both things can be true. It could be a week where Kyle Monangai has the easy matchup, no other competition. He still has to go and play well. And you said specifically benching DeAndre Swift. I'm not saying they're benching DeAndre Swift. I'm just saying that
Well, I'm
rather than this
saying last
being,
week. Last week was kind of a bench. Like DeAndre Swift said he could play, and Ben Johnson came out and said it's my
well, they
job
were
as a
just, yeah,
coach
they're
to
keeping him
protect
safe.
players
Let's,
from themselves, right? And
yeah,
that's why I
that
said benching, but I meant like making him inactive last week is
yeah,
what I
to
meant to
me,
say.
that has no bearing on going forward. I'm talking about you have a player in a backfield where Ben Johnson has shown a penchant for wanting to have a split backfield. And you now have Kyle Monangai, who had himself a big game. I don't think it's necessarily that you can't put the genie back in the bottle, but now if you want to keep both these guys healthy, establish the run, be able to do something a little bit different with different players, I think that door opens up. I don't think it's a certainty that Monangai becomes the 60-40 guy or that Swift remains the 60-40 guy. I think it probably just gets closer to being 50-50, and a lot of this is going to come down to game script. I don't think either player is bad. If anything, I think DeAndre Swift's a little bit better. But I also think Kyle Monangai does those things. You've talked about this before. Kyle Monangai does those things that coaches love.
Oh
He's
yeah.
just a hard-nosed player. He does all the gritty stuff, whereas DeAndre Swift is more likely to do some of those things that'll really freak a coach out.
The,
Listen. I'm not. I have them back to back. I'm not taking a very tough stance on either of these players.
the last thing else, like coming out of the bye, the backfield was split already. Like I'm looking week 6, DeAndre Swift had 56% of the snaps. Kyle Monangai had 34%. Week 7, 54-45. Week 8, 49-46. So like we were already seeing a
Yeah.
split backfield before Monangai took over in week 9.
Hmm.
I think it just goes right back to being that. And DeAndre Swift gets more of
Yeah.
the high value touches where he's getting the passing down work here. So yeah, I'm anticipating, 60-40, 55-45 split, just like we saw. But because Swift has the big play upside, because Swift has the pass catching chops, I just prefer him quite a bit in fantasy.
Let me see how far of a discrepancy do you have between them? Because I see you've got DeAndre Swift as your running back 16, and Monangai is your running back 26.
Yeah, so I'm looking at
Okay.
Swift as an RB2 and Monangai as an RB3.
Yeah, I don't think I can have Swift that high. You have him ahead of Etienne, Vidal, Brees Hall. So I've got them both at running backs 24 and 25. Like
Yeah.
super cop out here. Just
And I mean, like I said, in week 6, 7, and 8, where Swift was playing 56, 54, 49% of the snaps, he was
mhm.
still turning in 100 scrimmage yards and a touchdown every single week. I think that when you rely on him to be a 3 down back, that's when he starts doing the frustrating stuff. When he's coming in there with fresh legs, the interior offensive line has looked so much better. He's running through these wide open lanes. We're seeing the chunk plays. We're seeing the pass catching. I think that's why, like, we got to remember, even back in 2022 when DeAndre Swift was in Detroit, and everybody got so excited about Jamal Williams that year. DeAndre Swift was still the per game RB 18 that season. Like, even in a 50% role, he's got big play upside, he's got pass catching chops, and that's what makes him a high end RB2.
I know how to rile you up, man. Just say that a Bears player is not going to have a good game. That's
I
what
mean,
I'm
I
going
don't
to do.
even like DeAndre Swift that much. There are a lot of
I know
frustrating
that's why
things,
I'm
but
so surprised.
this is a perfect opportunity for him. We see that when DeAndre Swift gets to play behind an elite offensive line, he can give you really good fantasy production, and that's what he's been doing all year.
All right, that's enough DeAndre Swift. I have no way to transition from this. We just need to stop talking about it.
Tier
Uh,
3.
the other guy, the other guy from this tier that I really want to talk about is Trevion Henderson, who, listen, going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 7th most fantasy points allowed to running backs. Last week, 4 catches on 6 targets for 32 yards for Henderson. This is a game script that will likely force both teams to pass the ball a bit more. Drake May up against Baker Mayfield. I don't see this as like the big defensive stand where they're going to grind it out 10-9 and see who wins dirty. This is going to be one of those games that, Dave, like we've found these each week of like where's the game where the ball is going to be flying back and forth. I think this
Mhm.
one is it, and especially right now, no Ramondre Stevenson at practice on Wednesday. Like I mentioned, we're recording this Thursday morning. Trevion Henderson could just be an easy start once again this week.
Yeah, I mean, I've got him ranked as an RB2. Again, I'm going to be like the wet blanket here a little bit. I know everybody gets so excited about like the rookies taking over the backfields, but the reality is like Mike Vrabel, Josh McDaniels, they are Bill Belichick disciples, and they're going to bring in Terrell Jennings for a frustrating amount of touches here. So I'm
Sure,
kind
they
of
did that
looking at
last week
Travion.
though.
Right, yeah, and I'm looking at Travion Henderson in a very similar light that I am to DeAndre Swift. It's going to be a split backfield, but Travion Henderson is the guy who should theoretically get the high value touches, the passing down work. He's theoretically got the big play upside. We saw one nice run last week. So, I'm expecting the touches to be split kind of 60-40, but because Travion Henderson is just a better player getting the high value touches, I prefer him well ahead of Terrell Jennings.
Yeah, I don't know who's suggesting that Trevion Henderson is going to run away with the job in like some sort of crazy 80-20 split, but yeah, this is exactly what it's going to be. Mike Vrabel likes to keep things split. Josh Daniels likes to keep things split. It's just what you said. It's the high value touches. It's the explosive nature of the plays. And honestly, for this one, I do believe it's the game script. Let's go into the next tier here. Actually, last one, Brees Hall. A lot of people are asking about him. My confidence is a little shaken with Brees Hall. I
Yeah.
don't feel great
Yeah.
about it. I still ranked him as my running back 19, but my confidence level feels more like running back 25 or something. Like I'd almost rather have DeAndre Swift in there over Brees Hall, Aaron Jones over
Mhm.
Brees Hall. Like there's a couple, but it's just because he's the starting running back for the New York Jets and likely to get volume. I'm just like, okay, I have to rank him higher. But my confidence is so much weaker.
Yeah, and you and I are both well below consensus, where people are still ranking Brees Hall as the RB 17, and there's just other players that I'd prefer ahead of Brees Hall
We
this
have
week.
him as the RB 17
Do
or RB 18 in our
Yeah,
consensus.
because I've got him at RB 20 in my rankings, and I think you're a few spots higher, and I think this is just because there's a
Yeah, I've
lot
got him at
of players.
19.
Yeah, we've got a lot of players, and like I said, consensus at RB 17, so not a huge stance, but we're both below consensus here. And my fear is just like we said, I forget what show, Tuesday or Wednesday, where I was just like, "Oh, coach, my ankle hurts." Like I could really
Right.
see something like that popping up here. So, actionable advice: you still got to start Brees Hall because he's Brees Hall, and we expect him to get the touches. But I saw Isaiah Davis get dropped over his bye week last week in
It's
a ton
crazy.
of leagues. Yeah, Isaiah Davis. I don't know if there is like a better handcuff right now. Like, sure, you could make the case that Blake Corum, his ceiling is higher, and Tyler Algier, his ceiling is higher. But I think the path for Isaiah Davis to be a full time starter with no competition is much shorter than a lot of the other guys. Where Brees Hall, might decide to take off the end of the year based on the vibes that we're getting out of New York.
Might decide to take off before the end of the year. Who knows?
Yeah, so
Uh,
Isaiah Davis, like he's one of those guys. If he's available, pick him up right now. And if you got to go through waivers, like he's a guy that I'd be comfortable spending 20-30% of my fab on if you need to.
yeah, that's the kind of player you want to stash away for the playoffs. All right, let's go down to the next tier here, starting with Ken Walker the third, Aaron Jones, Tyrone Tracy, Kyle Monangai, Zach Charbonnet, R.J. Harvey, Alvin Kamara, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, Woody Marks, and Devin Singletary. Dave, I'm going to talk about the first guy that stands out to me here is Aaron Jones, where right now he has not practiced, but he has said, he was talking to reporters yesterday, I've played through an AC joint sprain before. I'll be good to go. I am playing. Right now, he's essentially getting veteran rest days. And listen, these things could change as the week goes on. Kevin O'Connell could overrule him and just be like, "Hey, man, no, we need you for later on in the season." But right now, Aaron Jones is saying that he is going to play, despite not practicing. This matchup against Baltimore is actually pretty good for a pass catching running back like him. Game script is going to dictate that the Vikings will need to pass the ball a bit more. We just saw Devon Achane catch 6 passes against Baltimore. With Lamar being back, everything's just essentially a shootout. I know this Baltimore Ravens defense has gotten better. Trading for Draymond Jones improves their run defense as well. But the Ravens, they've allowed at least 10 fantasy points to at least one running back in every single game this season. If I had to bet between the Vikings backfield, who's going to be the guy to get those double digit points, I'm going to take Aaron Jones over Jordan Mason as long as he is active and playing.
100%. And there were, I was surprised of all the players that we talked about on yesterday's Sabotage Drop episode. Jordan Mason was the one that kind
Mm.
of raised people's eyebrows the most. And I think there's a lot of pre draft notions that people are still hanging on to. And the reality is, like, he just has not been good this year. Like, he had the one game where he scored a couple of touchdowns. And outside of that, like, there's been nothing that has made me think that Jordan Mason, like, deserves to run away with this job. If Aaron Jones doesn't play, we're going to see a healthy dose of Xavier Scott, and he is going to get a lot of the passing down work, which puts a cap on Jordan Mason's ceiling. So, yeah, we don't know if Aaron Jones is going to play or not. We'll pay close attention to these practice reports, but if he is playing, he's right at that RB2, RB3 bubble for me. And, if he's able to log a full practice, I'll probably even bump him up a little higher. I could see myself putting him ahead of Kenneth Walker, David Montgomery, Tyrone Tracy, and kind of getting him into that back end RB2 range.
Yeah, I've got him right now as my RB. Let me see, RB 23 right now. So he's right there on that RB2 bubble.
And would you agree that
Just
like
like
if
you were
he
saying.
if he can log a full practice on Friday, that'll instill a little bit more confidence? Like if he's got that questionable tag, then you're
Yeah.
always worried about re-injury or a limited workload. If he's off the injury report, then we're both probably bumping him up in our rankings.
Yeah, I almost think just ignorantly, I will say like when a player says I'm good to play this weekend, especially an older veteran like Aaron Jones, like who's been through it, he kind of knows when to speak and when not to. If he's saying that on Wednesday, like, yeah, I know I didn't practice, don't worry, I'll be good. I'm kind of inclined to believe him. It
Mm,
just it doesn't seem like
I'm
this is, especially with Kevin O'Connell. It doesn't seem like it's an organization where you're like, hold your horses there, pal. You're not playing. Seems
I'm
like
old
they'll
enough
be
to
trusting
remember
him.
Keenan Allen grabbing the camera right before kickoff and saying, "Don't bench me in your fantasy lineups this week," and then putting up a zero.
Aaron Jones seems to be like a much more trustworthy guy than Keenan Allen. I'm just gonna say that out loud. Yeah, Kevin O'Connell also way more trustworthy than whoever the coach was for the Chargers. All right. Anyone else from this tier that interests you, Dave? I've got a couple of other players, but I want to hear from you as well.
Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, this could end up being another tough game for him. It's been tough sledding for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt over the last month. And you look at this Detroit Lions offense, you look at the spread right here. This is a game where we expect it to end up getting pushed towards a negative game script. And as we've talked about a lot, that's the big knock on Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is that he is a zero in the receiving game. So if they end up down 2 scores in the first quarter, we're going to see a heavy dose of Jeremy McNichols. We're going to see a lot of passes. And that is a game script that doesn't work for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. So we talked about him as a potential sabotage drop. And I think that this week, like I would love if I had Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, dropped him, and then my opponent picked him up and put him in the lineup, and I got to face against Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Because this feels like one where like we have to rank him somewhere because we know there's going to be some projectable volume. But this also feels like it has all of the writing on the wall of another like 3.5, 4.8 point game where you're wondering like, why did I start Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt?
If they're going to be trailing, if they're going to be struggling with Marcus Mariota, he's essentially a zero in the passing game. And that's the biggest struggle for me. It's I don't see the offense getting into red zone scenarios where he's going to have a lot
Yep.
of goal line attempts, and even those tend to go to Chris Rodriguez as being the bigger thumper in the backfield. It's kind of like you just have this explosive player, and it's like the reverse Hannah Montana. You have the worst of both worlds. Like he's not the big guy that's going to get Dave. Look that up. I know you don't know that reference. He's Come on,
I'm sorry.
man. Dave was born at 38 years old. Just came out the womb, mustache, ready to go. He's like, give me my Yorgos Smorgasbord movies immediately as a baby.
I did feel a little bit of an outcast as a kid. I don't know why. I just didn't like Disney Channel stuff. Like all my friends were
What?
watching Even Stevens and all that, and like I was more of
That's your boy.
a
It's Shia.
yeah, yeah. I know. I was more of like a Ren and Stimpy guy as a little kid.
You would. Ugh,
I loved Ren and Stimpy. Yeah,
gross.
Ren and
Those are
Stimpy,
that's
Courage the Cowardly Dog. Like I liked like the gross, weird cartoons as a kid.
No, not at all. Not at all. That stuff would come on. I'm turning the TV off. I'm going outside. I'm touching grass as a child. Okay, back to the Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. It's just he has the worst of both worlds here, where he's not really the big goal line back that's likely to get the goal line stuff. He's not the pass catcher. It's all the same concerns that we had at the beginning of the year. But now you just remove Jaden Daniels and a good offense from the equation, and you're just like, oh man, we have all the same concerns of a 3-man backfield, but the offense is bad. It's just not great. It's just
It's not
not great. My
just
confidence is really
removing.
low.
It's not just Jaden Daniels. It's Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin,
Yeah,
Luke McCaffrey,
yeah.
Debo
Oh
Samuel's
well,
banged
Luke
up as
McCaffrey's
well.
the needle mover.
I mean, really though, like Luke McCaffrey was having a solid year, and now they're going down to like who Chris Moore is going to be like one of their leading receivers
Your
for the rest
dynasty
of the
brain
season.
is your dynasty brain is itching right now.
I'm just saying, like, there is nothing promising happening
Oh yeah,
right now in this Washington offense. So, like, I mean, I'm looking right now. I've got Debo Samuel ranked as, a wide receiver 3. Outside of that, it's Chris Moore, Jalen Lane, Traylon
Jalen Lane's
Burks
fun.
was activated to the 53-man roster. Like, this is the state of the Washington Commanders right now. Is that Traylon Burks is going to be a part of their offensive game plan going into Week 10.
Pig suey. Let's see it, Traylon Burks. There's a couple other guys from this tier that I want to talk about, and they're ranked pretty similarly to Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. RJ Harvey is a guy I've got well ahead of Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Dave, it's just
One spot ahead. Yeah.
okay. I've got him. I think it's
Yeah,
trying
you've
to
got him like
count it.
six,
I
seven
got him
spots
like
ahead.
5 or 6 spots
Yeah.
ahead. It's the faith is not there for Bill. But with RJ Harvey, he's going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. 3 running backs have scored at least 12 PPR points in the last 2 games against Las Vegas. One of them being Brashard Smith, is similar skill set, being a pass catcher, a guy who's in a timeshare. Now RJ Harvey, he's got touchdowns 3 games in a row. I don't necessarily want to chase that, and we never tell our audience to chase touchdowns for points. But these touchdowns are being scored in different ways. It's not like he's falling
Mhm.
into the end zone. He's getting these long runs or these long receptions, creative usage out in space, things where the team is actually trying to use him. Now, I know that the role has not expanded in any great way, but this is also a game where the Broncos could make it a just complete blowout and be able just to destroy the Raiders in this game. In each of the Broncos' 2 blowouts this year, weeks 4 and weeks 8, RJ Harvey was a top 15 fantasy running back. I'm not saying that correlation is going to just lead to, okay, blowout means RJ Harvey has to be a top 15 running back. But I'm saying if they have a heavy lead, I could see a world where J.K. Dobbins comes off the field and they're saying, okay, let's get you some rest. Let's give RJ Harvey some more reps. We really haven't been able to do that throughout this year. So RJ Harvey, I think, becomes a very interesting. I don't have him quite as an RB2, but he becomes a very interesting high upside RB3 flex play for me.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. The highest snap share RJ Harvey saw in this entire season was in week 4 when they played Cincinnati, and they just put him in a bag by halftime. They won that game 28-3. But even then, like that was like the most usage, the most snaps that we saw from RJ Harvey, 14 carries, 5 targets. Like I would love to see that, but still just 40% of the snaps. And this is just
Sure.
Sean Payton just annoying the crap out of us with how he is going to deploy the personnel here. So I get what you're saying. Like there is a lot of upside here. He's been running hot on touchdowns, and the game script should work in his favor. I think he makes for, if you're looking for upside in that RB3 spot, he's giving you a lot more upside than a lot of these other guys here where, if you're starting Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Alvin Kamara, Woody Marks, Devin Singletary, I'm not sure if there is any upside with those guys. You're like
I was going to
hoping that you
say,
can get 7, 8, 9 points where RJ Harvey, good offense, explosive player, good game script. There, he's the one guy in this tier that could end up finishing realistically as like an RB1 in the week.
so I have both RJ Harvey and the other guy I want to talk about is Woody Marks. I have them both ahead of Alvin Kamara and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt this week. And Woody Marks going up against Jacksonville. I mean, he's had at least 12 and a half PPR points in 3 of his last 4 games. There's a role that's there. Devin Lloyd looks like he might still be out for Jacksonville. And while they're decent at stopping the run, they do allow pass catching running backs to be able to score. We just saw Ashton Jinty get his big 5 reception, 47 yards and a touchdown in that game. Wasn't able to run very well, but also with the Texans, CJ Stroud. Look, it's official, right? I want to
He's
confirm this.
out.
It's
Yeah,
official.
he
He
is
will
out
be out for this
in
game.
the Davis Mills week.
Davis Mills being in there, I mean, expect the checkdowns to Woody Marks.
Yeah. I mean, we did see him doing that quite a bit back when he was the starter. And we'll talk about it more when we flip over to the wide receivers. But I do have some concerns about Nico Collins with Davis Mills
Sure,
because we have seen that song and
I get
dance
it.
before. So I think just like as a whole, I'm a little bit nervous about what Davis Mills is going to look like. But we do know that he checks down to running backs frequently. So Marks, I don't think he has the same ceiling as RJ Harvey, but probably, we talk about RJ Harvey as the biggest ceiling play in this tier. I think Woody Marks, because of his abilities as a pass catcher, probably gives you the highest floor.
Let's go to the last tier here, and we'll round out the running backs. It's Bam Knight, Jordan Mason, Nick Chubb, Isaiah Davis, Terrell Jennings, Blake Corum, Chuba Hubbard, Bashal Tutin. Dave, I think out of this group, the 2 guys that stand out the most, maybe 3, I mean, it just kind of depends. It's Isaiah Davis, Terrell Jennings, Blake Corum. Like those 3 all together. I don't know if I have the wibbles to start any of these 3 guys, but if you are in a pinch and you really need a flex play, I think there are worse players to start.
Yeah, Isaiah Davis is the one that jumps out to me that I'd be happy starting. Like we saw him prior to the bye. Brees Hall was still healthy, and Isaiah Davis
Yep.
still got 100 yards in that matchup. I mean, he is a good player. We have heard Aaron Glenn all year talking about how he wants a split backfield, and um, you don't I don't think we give enough grace to first year head coaches, first year play callers, first year offensive coordinators. Like we expect them to just come out and do all of the right things. I think when you're in
Yes.
the heat of the moment, it is really, really hard. And like I think Jameson Williams, I was on the couch with Sigmund Bloom the other day and we were talking about this. John Morton, like I don't think that he has a vendetta against Jameson Williams and said, like, I'm not going to get plays to him. It's just that he's never called plays before. And it's really easy in the offseason to say we want this guy to be involved. It's a lot harder to draw up plays to get the ball to him when you're in the heat of the moment. You've got 35 seconds to make a decision on what the play call is going to be. And I think that's kind of what happened with Aaron Glenn over the first half of the season is
Mhm.
that he wanted a split backfield. And when you're in the heat of the moment, it's like, hey, Brees Hall's running well. Let's just keep him on the field. But I think as he matures as a head coach and once this offense kind of finds its identity a little bit, I think we will see more of a split backfield. And that's why both you and I are a little bit bit lower on Brees Hall and higher on Isaiah Davis, I think we just continue to see that usage tighten up between now and the end of the year.
It feels like there's a, I don't want to say like it over like this sweeping change in the NFL. Brandon Beane was talking about it yesterday about like so many trades happening because these young GMs want to come in and act like it's Madden. And I do feel like there is a different vibe amongst coaches, coordinators, where they're almost too refreshingly honest. Like
Yeah.
hearing Aaron Glenn talk about like, I'm going to talk to other coaches to see how they dealt with starting 0-6 or how they dealt with split back. Like, and just, we don't normally hear that. Like that was a big thing that people liked about Mike McDaniels and then Mike McDaniel, excuse me. And then when you start losing, they don't find it all that refreshing
Mm,
anymore. They just find it annoying. Aaron Glenn got the cheat code. He just started losing first and then acted like this. And we're like,
right.
oh, it's just the Jets, right? Like
Yeah.
it feels like that's just all that's happened.
Yeah, and I think it is kind of refreshing, like the honesty. But every coach is a little bit different. We talked about this. Like Liam Cohen is a new coach, and I don't want
Yeah.
to say he's dishonest, but he just doesn't share anything that he doesn't have to. Like he's going to keep his
Right.
cards close to the chest. And I think Aaron Glenn, coming from the Dan Campbell coaching tree, he is going to have that brutal honesty and just say how he feels. And Ben Johnson does that as well. Like Ben Johnson, coming from Dan Campbell, he's not a guy who's trying to hide stuff. I will say with Aaron Jones or Aaron Glenn, the one funny thing is like he'll be honest about a lot of other stuff, but I love that he keeps with this bit every single week. Like we don't know if it's going to be Justin Fields or Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
We want to
It's so
we
good.
want to try to trick the other team. It's like we don't care who the quarterback is.
It feels like the parent that's just telling really bad white lies to their kid. And
Mhm.
like he just does it to the media every single week. And we're like, no, we know, man.
We
We get
know
it.
you're not tricking
We
any of us. Yeah,
we know.
yeah.
Like, I don't know. If you're good, maybe we'll get McDonald's on the way home from soccer practice. It's like, yeah, don't worry. I know we're getting McDonald's. You don't want to make lunch for me.
Mhm.
All right, let's go to the wide receivers here. We'll hop into these tiers, and we'll kind of fly through these first ones. Except there's going to be a few players I know we want to talk about. So let's start off receivers 1-7. Puka Nakua, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Amon St. Brown, Drake London, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, and Emeka Igbuka. Dave, I don't think there's anything there. Just start these players.
Drake London is the one that I think we should have a conversation about at least. Sauce Gardner going over to Indiana. He is going or Indianapolis. He's
I'll say Sauce Gardner is still in concussion protocol. This game is in Berlin. It's
I thought I saw this morning that he was practicing. I could be wrong,
and
but
also am I freaking out here? No, the Colts are playing the Seahawks, so it's not Drake London. You're talking about JSN.
Drake London is playing against the Colts, and the Colts traded for Sauce Gardner.
Well, I'll have to double check this.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. It's Atlanta plays at Indianapolis, and that's where Sauce Gardner is now. Yeah, and they
Okay.
just came out this morning. They said Sauce Gardner cleared concussion protocol and is ready to play. So I think I want to talk about it. You're still starting Drake London, and I think there's a lot of concern about Sauce Gardner, but Drake London,
Oh, yeah.
his best traits are as a contested catch passer. So I'm not too concerned here because that's where Sauce does struggle a little bit. He is more of like a finesse defensive back. Like he is going to stick close to a guy. But when it comes to ball skills, when it comes to size, when it comes to physicality, I think Drake London has the edge here. So I know there's some people like getting moderately concerned about pushing Drake London down into like the wide receiver 2 range. I'm still firing Drake London up. Like I don't have any concern about this. He's my wide receiver 4 on the week, even with Sauce on him.
Yeah, that's on me. My bad. I was looking wrong matchup. I had them right next to each other in my rankings, and I was seeing wrong matchups there. I
It
did not
takes
know
me like
the
a month to remember trades too. Like that's always like,
well,
they
not
happen
not the
so quickly.
trade.
Yeah.
It was just like I had the matchups next to each other on the spreadsheet. I'm like,
Uh,
wait a sec, and I started to just brain fart there. So okay, I was not aware of the Sauce Gardner update though in concussion protocol. So
yeah, and that
that'll
was
be good.
right before we started recording. It
Got it.
came out that he cleared concussion protocol.
Okay.
So he's a good D back, but I think like he's much better against the finesse guys. Like I'd be worried more about like him covering a Tyreek Hill or something like that.
Also, don't know how much he's gonna play.
Yeah, that's too. Like he's got to get up to the speed with the playbook and all that sort of stuff. So Drake London, what I'm getting at, still a top 5 wide receiver for me. Like, he has just turned it on over the last couple of weeks. We saw him with that kind of slow, not even start because week 1 was big, but then he had that stretch from like week 2 to week 5 where he wasn't really performing that well. He was struggling with that shoulder injury, but he's back right now. Michael Penix is peppering him with targets. He's going to be able to come down with those contested catch opportunities. He is still an elite wide receiver regardless of the matchup.
Yeah, and with Drake London too, he's moving all over the lineup. Like last week, a lot of the talk was, oh, he's gonna have Christian Gonzalez on him, so get ready to be shut
Right.
down. Gets two
Sauce isn't going
touchdowns
to
all
follow
out
him
of
into the
slot.
slot. Exactly. And
Right.
that's what, yeah, he's like Sauce isn't following Drake London when he gets kicked into the slot. So they move him around to get him the matchups that they want regardless.
All right, let's go to the second tier here, where I'm sure we're gonna have some players we need to talk about here. At wide receiver 8 through 16, we got Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, Zay Flowers, Roma Dunze, Lad McConkey, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Michael Pittman Jr. Dave, who stands out to you?
I mean, we've talked about it so much. It's like wide receivers are just bad this year once you get past the top tier. Like, and that, like, when I'm looking at this tier, the way that we have it ranked, like, there isn't a huge gap between Nico Collins and like Tedero McMillan, who we have ranked like 15 spots below. Like, this is
Yeah.
just so tight once you get out of the elite tier this year. So Nico Collins is the one I want to talk about a little bit because we knew for years that Nico Collins was a good player when he was playing with Davis Mills. And the problem was like all of the underlying metrics were elite: yards per route run, all of that sort of stuff that we care about. But the problem was Davis Mills and the uncatchable target rate and the sacks that he was taking and all the problems with Davis Mills. So we saw the huge Nico Collins breakout 2 years ago when CJ Stroud got drafted, and that was like, finally, we have a quarterback that can unlock Nico Collins, and it's been good ever since. But this is one where like I'm still ranking him high because we know the big play upside is there. But this is one where I think of all the players in this tier, he's probably the one that scares me most.
Yeah, I can get that. I think Roma Dunze also with the target volume up and down, the drops that you've been talking about as well. Like
His
those things
dad
were
on social media, have you seen all that stuff going on?
yeah. If you could you
Uh,
explain for people because I know he was talking about wanting a trade to a team that's actually going to throw him the ball, right?
Yeah, coming off of a game that they won in an emphatic way, like one of the best wins the Bears have had in recent history. Roma Dunze has 2 bad drops in that game. Like, one was a drop in the end zone, another was a drop on a trick play from Cole Kmet. And then James Adunze, his dad, gets on Twitter
Come
late
on,
at night.
Jimmy.
Yeah, late at night, there were a lot of came home from the bar and started tweeting, but saying that his son needs to be traded, go to a team that's going to use him, blah blah blah. And it sucks for Roma Dunze because he is a fan favorite. Like, Bears fans love Roma Dunze, but then once your dad comes out and starts talking this sort of mess on social media, then everybody starts putting compilations together of every miscue that Roma Dunze has had this year, and now it's like the fan base has turned on Roma Dunze because of his dad. Like, if I'm Rome, I'm going to my dad's house and I'm taking his phone and I'm flushing it down the toilet. Like, he has done nothing good for his public image over the last week.
Isn't that just Bears fans though too? Like you could just say
Dude.
like one thing that
Oh,
mildly upsets 3 people, and the Bears fans have turned on you.
and I get it. Like, Rome was coming off of a good game, and I don't think, or off of a bad game. I don't think anybody was panicking about it. But now you have Bears fans that are going out of their way to prove Roma Dunze's dad wrong, and by doing that, they basically have to say, "Look how bad your son has been this year." So they're ignoring the big plays, they're ignoring
Right.
the touchdowns and the first downs, and they're highlighting the drops and the miscues and all this sort of stuff. So I don't know how this is going to like work into Rome's psyche. Like, how does he feel now that like the entire fan base has just spent the last week clowning on him? Are they going to make more of an effort to get him the ball? Is he going to get like, I don't know what's going to happen here, but yeah, Roma Dunze was like, we were talking about him as a top 5 wide receiver through the first month of the season, and since the bye, it has not been very good.
I think he's somewhere in between where he's been the last few weeks and where he was the first few weeks. And it's probably going to have him somewhere around a top 15 wide receiver. And honestly, that was the expectation for people
Right.
if
That
he
was
was
the
going to
ceiling
break
outcome.
out,
Yeah, nobody
right?
talked
Like,
about Rome being a top 3 guy. We were like, this guy could be a high end
no,
wide receiver too if the
it's,
chips fall right.
yeah, like it's the expectations. He was getting drafted around like wide receiver 30, and we're like, man, if he breaks out, he's a top 15 wide receiver. And then he went to top 5, and now we're like, man, he's just not good. He's giving us top 24 wide receiver production. It's not like you drafted him to be something different. So it's yeah, I think the most actionable thing here is just keep starting him. Like there's nothing that changes in this.
You want to get
Um,
even more actionable? I'd say buy low because somebody might be
yeah,
panicking off of that 0 point performance, and you might be able to get him for way cheaper than his medium outcome. Where I'm still looking at him as a top 15 guy rest of the season.
Dave, next guy I want to talk about that's in this. Actually, let's go to the next tier, and it's wide receivers 17 through 22. Devontae Smith, Steph Diggs, Tedero McMillan, Chris Olave, DK Metcalf, Cortland Sutton. And I want to bring up Chris Olave because I've got him a little bit higher than you do. I've got him as a high end wide receiver too. A lot of this, I was a little bit worried after last week where he wasn't seeing the same target volume with Tyler Shuck going up against the Rams. This week he's got Carolina, and I think there's still plenty of reason to be worried, especially if he gets lined up against J.C. Horn. The difference with Chris Olave, though, is that he was doing a lot of what Drake London has been doing, a lot of what Devontae Smith got to do last year in this Kellen Moore offense. He's been running out of the slot a ton. And I am curious to see what they do here, especially after trading away Rashid Shaheed. We could be getting a few other different guys out there on the field. I know Brandon Cook's probably going to see a little bit more playing time, but Chris Olave, that target volume has to go back up. Maybe it's not the 10 or 12 targets a game like he was doing before, but I don't have that same fear I did last week after seeing 4 targets.
Yeah, and I think this is just more of a low volume offense in general. Like we talked so much about Spencer Rattler. He's just a gunslinger. He's going to throw the ball whenever he can, even when he shouldn't. I think Tyler Shuck is going to be a little bit more conservative. So that's one of the reasons.
Which is crazy because that's not who Shuck was coming out of Louisville. He was the exact opposite. He was Jameis Winston, ready to go in there and throw that ball 75 yards on every play.
Yeah, and maybe he'll get there as he acclimates to the NFL and gets a little bit more comfortable, but we're just not seeing it yet. And I think like the departure of Rashid Shaheed, as our friend Chris Harris likes to say, there's a crutch argument that can be made either way. You can say Rashid Shaheed's gone, so all of the volume is going to him, or you could say, well, Rashid Shaheed's gone, now there's no other threat, and they're going to key in on him. So you can kind of make the argument either way for Chris Olave. But at the end of the day, it's just Tyler Shuck is the one that concerns me a little bit. J.C. Horn lining up on him. I think you're still starting Chris Olave, but Chris Olave with Spencer Rattler was a lot more fun than Chris Olave with Tyler Shuck.
I think it remains to be seen. We've seen one game and like a quarter and a half, 2 quarters. Really.
Right.
I want to give we talk about giving these players grace. Like I want to give them more than 6 quarters of football before I can say that sure, the offense isn't as good, but it's not like it was good before. We saw with Tyler Shuck coming in the second half of that first game, he was peppering Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed with targets. Now it's basically just going to be Chris Olave and Juwan Johnson. And then whatever's left is going to the guys like Brandon Cooks and Devon Vele, who's now going to be a player on the outside, big bodied wide receiver, who they'll probably throw a few passes up for. But yeah, I'm not as worried as feeling as bad as I was about Chris Olave last week prior to the trade.
I had a random thought. I need to look up the compensation now, but if memory serves correct, I think the Saints gave up more to trade for Devon Vele than they got for Rashid Shaheed. Is that right?
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I'll have to look this up.
I thought it was like a 5th round for Devon Vele.
I thought they gave up 2 picks for Vele. I could be wrong. Somebody in the YouTube comments will let us know. I can't look it up right now, but I remember that being like a huge overpay at the time. And then when Rashid Shaheed got traded, I'm like, seems like they could have got more than that. Well,
Rashid Shaheed was traded for what? A 5th?
Looking it up right now. Rashid Shaheed trade. I don't know, man. I should have prepped for this beforehand. I'm talking.
Yeah. The Broncos received a 4th and a 7th for Devon Vele, a guy who has played almost nothing this year.
Yeah, and a 4th and a 5th for Rashid Shaheed. So, I mean, like very similar draft compensations. And I don't know about you, but I would much prefer Rashid Shaheed.
Okay, so essentially they ended up with Devon Vele and they turned a 7th into a 5th.
Yikes.
And they got rid of Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, let's keep going through here. We just haven't talked enough about the sleepers that we want to talk about in this episode. So let's do that. Let's go down to the next tier. These are wide receivers 23 through 30. This is where the decisions start to get a little more challenging here, Dave. So at 23, we got Juwan Jennings, DJ Moore, Wan'Dale Robinson, Romeo Doubs, Jameson Williams, Keenan Allen, Jordan Addison, and Deebo Samuel. Who from this tier is a guy that you want to start as a sleeper this week?
Jameson Williams. Like, please tell me this is it. Like, Washington Commanders are giving up so many points to opposing wide receivers. And we saw it like coming out of the bye. There was all of this talk. Like you saw John Morton just like pouring his heart out, just like, I have failed you, Jameson. Like, could not have been like more dramatic with talking about his usage of Jameson.
God, I wish you watched anything. I wish I could make a Star Wars reference right now. So bad. Wars
as long as
people in the comments, man. Obi-Wan. I have failed you, Anakin. No.
I get that.
Watch a movie,
I do.
Dave.
Yeah, I get Star Wars. Star Wars is like one of the few that I watch.
You've heard of it?
again, like the 9, like I'll watch the 9 movies. I'm not watching all the spin-off TV shows and like, the 9 OG movies. That's where I draw the line. I don't want to get into the universe any more than that. But
Don't do that. There's not 9 OG movies.
what do you mean? What do I
No,
not know? I thought there were 9
we don't
original
count the
movies.
sequel movies. We don't count the
Really?
sequel movies, Dave.
You're talking about like the 90s, early 2000s, the Natalie Portman ones? You don't count those as
No, those
original
are
movies?
prequels, David. Oh my God. Okay,
Uh,
everyone, strap in here. Okay, the first original trilogy came out in
which is what, yes.
1976,
Watch
and then I
that in the
believe
theater
concluded in
as a
like
child. Yes. Yes.
yes, and then I
They did
believe
a
it concluded in
re-release
like
for the
81.
yeah,
Then they came back years and years later in like 1999 with episode 1,
the
2,
prequels.
and 3, the
Yes.
prequels. And
Watched all
then
those in theaters as well.
recently, like 8 years ago, was, or maybe less, is when they did the sequels. And
Rogue
that was
One and
episodes. Well, Rogue One is a side like story.
I don't know anything.
Rogue One takes place in between episodes 3 and 4. It leads directly into the beginning of episode 4.
All right.
Yes, this is what people come to this show for. It's the Dave Kluge education on Star Wars. Yeah, just don't watch the recent ones. That's all I'm getting at. Don't count them in there. So yeah,
Jameson
Jameson
Williams has
Yeah.
been failed by John Morton. And we didn't see
you.
any of that come to fruition in the first half of the game. But in the second half of the game, they're like, oh, yeah, that's right. Jameson Williams, we failed him. We need to get him the ball. And what does he do? He makes like one of the most spectacular plays that we've seen this entire season, like catching the ball, tiptoeing down the sidelines, stretching out, taking the pylon out. And like, that's what Jameson Williams can do. So, like, I hope going up against Washington, giving up the 6th most points to wide receivers than any team out there right now. I hope this is another game where they can get Jameson Williams going, get his confidence going, realizing that when you have that deep threat, it opens up everything else for Amon-Ra and the running backs and Sam Laporta and all that. Like, this is an offense that should be able to attack at every level, and Jameson Williams needs to be a part of that. So I hope that continues rolling over into this week.
I'm going to talk about 2 guys here. One is just really simple. Wan'Dale Robinson should be starting each week. I mean, 11
Yeah.
targets last week, 9 receptions. You may not get the big plays, 100-yard games. It's going to look like 9 receptions, 34 yards, maybe a touchdown if we get lucky. I'm just going to take the volume. Let's just take our chances on that volume every single week. Going up against Chicago, they're allowing the 2nd most points to slot wide receivers. I think that's an easy one. So flex him in your lineup, or you can even put him in as a wide receiver 3, depending on how your starting lineup is formatted. The other guy is Romeo Doubs. Like Dave, you and I, we've been here for a little while. Going up against Philly, they're giving up a decent amount of points to outside wide receivers this year. And this also, I mean, this you can consider this also for Christian Watson as a guy who, if you're really desperate at the wide receiver spot, but no Tucker Kraft, no Matthew Golden, no Jaden Reed. Romeo Doubs had a 26% target share over the last 6 games. Like, he is dominating the targets there in Green Bay. At least 13 PPR points in 3 of his last 5 games. I think you could start him easily this week.
Yeah. Last guy I'll talk about here is just Keenan Allen, like slowly seeing that role dipping a little bit. Not even so much as a start, like more of a concern. Like, I think you are still
I actually had
him
Quentin
because of the
Johnston as a
upside.
start because of the Keenan Allen dip in usage.
Yeah. And that's it. 25% of the snaps 2 weeks ago, 37% of the snaps last week. Those are both the lowest marks of the season. I just wonder, as he's playing at this age, if, he doesn't want to be playing a full route share, which I totally understand, but not great for fantasy. He's always got the opportunity. Like, he's been getting big plays this year, which is good. We didn't see a lot of that in Chicago last year. Like, he's catching balls deep downfield. He still is a threat to get into the end zone. But I think, we were talking about Keenan Allen earlier in the season when he was just like a lock for 60 yards and a touchdown every week as like a plug and play high end wide receiver 2. Now he does kind of fall into that like shakier wide receiver 3 range for me and you.
Yeah, I mean, Quentin Johnston, I think, is an interesting guy out of this because going up against Pittsburgh, it's such a good matchup. It's such a good matchup. They did a little bit of that course correction last week.
41 points per game to wide receivers the Steelers are giving up this year. That's insane.
And the Steelers did this thing where they just patchworked a bunch of old defensive backs in there, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, guys who have just been either horribly inconsistent or just not very good this year. And Joey Porter Jr. has had his moments where he's been good, but in his moments where he's really struggled. This is just a good matchup. I want to get any Los Angeles Chargers wide receiver in my lineup. The only guy where I think I'm with you is I have pause for concern is Keenan Allen there.
Yeah. And like I said, you're probably still starting him because it's Keenan Allen. And like when he is on the field, he is drawing targets and he's drawing valuable targets and he's still that
It's
guy
also
that
like there's a lot
just
of buys. There's so many receivers we would normally play.
The other thing too is just Joe Alt. out for the season. Like, it
Mm.
has been a tale of two seasons for
But they
the
got Trevor
Chargers.
Penning.
And Trevor Penning is good. I mean, that's like
Yeah, he's
that was a
okay.
big trade. I mean, it's no Joe Alt, it's no Rashawn Slater, but it should help him out a little bit. But like
Yeah.
we saw a huge change in how good this Chargers team was. Like from the beginning of the year until Joe Alt had that injury, and then Joe Alt comes back and they immediately go back to being good again. So I do have some concerns about what the Chargers are going to look like for the rest of the season. This week will tell us a lot.
Let's go down to the next tier. This is going to be wide receivers 31 through 40. And this is where I think people are making the toughest decisions, going for some desperation flexes here. Let's start with Khalil Shakir, who honestly, by all means, like he could probably be a lot higher in our rankings.
Yeah.
Just wondering, how this
All of
game,
these
the
guys
game
can.
script
Like
goes.
these two tiers are very,
It
very
really
tight. Like
is.
I feel like you could shuffle all of these players around and like none of the viewers would know if, like all of these
I'm
guys, like 23 to 40 are so tight.
I'm looking at Cortland Sutton, who is the wide receiver 19 in my rankings, and Christian Watson, who is the wide receiver 40 in my rankings, and I'm saying you're the same person.
I'm
This
looking
is
at
the
Cortland
same
Sutton
thing
and
right
Troy
now.
Franklin and saying you're the same person.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. Troy Franklin is one
Yeah.
of these guys that I'm
Out
happy to
targeting
start
Sutton on
this
the year.
week. Yep, he's out targeted Cortland Sutton each of the last two games. There has just been a major role shift for Troy Franklin here, going up against the Raiders. They allowing the sixth most fantasy points to wide receivers over the last 4 weeks here. It's just a good matchup. It's a player who's getting the volume. I know we've talked about it a million times before, but they have this chemistry. Bo Nix and Troy Franklin going all the way back to Oregon
Yep.
together. When he's under duress, he and Troy Franklin know where to find each other. It's just an easy thing. Weren't they like roommates, like best friends? Like they call each other like their brothers, almost like adoptive brothers here. Is
Mhm.
that not a thing? Yeah. Okay. I
Yeah,
want to make
no,
sure
it
I
is.
wasn't
It,
going
it
crazy
is.
here.
Yeah, and they're different roles. Like Cortland Sutton is more of the downfield guy now, where Troy
Right.
Franklin is Michael Thomas in this offense. I really hate to say it, but
Stop
just
doing that. Stop doing that. We did it last year. We're like Cortland Sutton, slant boy, Cortland
yeah, but
Slanton.
now we're seeing a big change where like Cortland Sutton, his routes are coming much deeper downfield. Like he is back to being pinned to the outside,
Mhm.
running a lot of vertical routes where Troy Franklin is getting those in breaking routes. He's running a ton of slots, and it's obviously not Michael Thomas, but a very similar role in this offense where it's just like nonstop. Like almost every one of his runs is, or every one of his routes is just an in breaking route where he catches the ball near the line of scrimmage and can make plays after the catch. So it's a valuable role. And we've seen some games where he's looked really good, other games where he's struggled a little bit. I think that's just kind of the nature of a day three wide receiver, but he's pulling targets right now and he's a big part of this offense. And like, yeah, we should probably have Troy Franklin and Cortland Sutton a little bit tighter in rankings given what we've seen this year.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the excuse, like we said, all these guys in this tier could all be somewhere around wide receiver 22 to 23. You just have to rank them somewhere. And like some of these guys, one of the guys I'm going to talk about right now, Tez Johnson, going
Yeah.
up against the New England Patriots. We just saw Drake London have a 3 touchdown game from the slot. Tez Johnson plays on the outside a little bit as the Z, and he'll also move into the slot. Emeka Egbuka do the same too, but there is opportunity here in a game that, like I said, if this Bucks Patriots game, we can see the ball get thrown a lot. Christian
Mhm.
Gonzalez might end up shadowing Emeka Egbuka, but he won't follow him down to the slot. So it'll be interesting to see how creative they can get with these wide receivers. But last two games, average target share over 21% for Tez Johnson. The opportunities are there coming off the bye. This could actually be a pretty good matchup here. If you're starting three wide receivers, you need a flex. This all of a sudden becomes a guy you can stick into your lineup.
Yeah, and it also doesn't look like Chris Godwin is coming back this year or this week. So
Right.
this
Yeah.
year,
Sorry. That was a given to me. Yeah.
right? Yeah, I mean, he hasn't practiced yet this week. Poor Bucks, man. Like all the talk has just been like they just need to get through this bye, and then everything will be better. Well, they're through the bye,
Wrong.
and Wednesday, no Bucky Irving, no Chris Godwin. Like, yeah, not feeling great about this situation at all. But yeah, I think Tez Johnson, sky high ceiling there, and you talk about like how tight this whole tier is. The other guy that like really jumps out to me, Parker Washington. Like if he
Mhm.
finishes as a top 15 wide receiver this week, would not surprise me one bit. I think there's going to be so much volume going his way. I know we're excited about Jacoby Myers, but I think Jacoby Myers is probably going to get slow rolled a little bit this week. I don't think we're going to see him out there playing 100% of the snaps. So Diami Brown is injured. Travis Hunter is injured. Brian Thomas Jr. is injured. There's like one guy out there that has chemistry with Trevor Lawrence, and it's going to be Parker Washington. We've seen him play this role as the middle of the field guy very admirably this year. So we're ranking him, I think, responsibly, but also so much upside if you're starting Parker Washington this week.
I'll also say those Colts wide receivers, Alec Pierce and Josh Downs, become really interesting. I know the Falcons have been a good pass defense. AJ Terrell is likely going to be on Michael Pittman in this game, which means we could be seeing even more targets going to Alec Pierce and Josh Downs in this. So those are guys that become high upside sleepers as well, high upside flexes, excuse me. There's another guy who's really high
Real quick
upside. Yeah,
on Alec Pierce, I just want to mention he's so primed for a boom game that we just
yeah,
haven't seen yet. Like he's the
yeah.
wide receiver 41 in scoring right now. Last year, Alec Pierce on 69 targets. Um,
Nice.
yeah, 7 touchdowns. This year, he has almost surpassed
Six,
his target total.
seven.
He's already at 45 touchdowns or 45 targets this year, has not scored a touchdown yet. That's been Alec Pierce's bag his entire career is like there isn't volume here, but he could always catch that big touchdown. This year, he's getting the volume and he's not getting the touchdowns, but he's still in the same role, pulling a 20 plus A dot downfield. So Alec Pierce, getting him in my lineups where I have him, it seems like he's just primed for a boom game.
Yeah, I mean, he's that's been his MO throughout his career, so it's weird that we haven't seen that. And a guy that last guy I wanted to bring up is also someone who like we could see a boom game. This is one of these if you're really desperate and he's been on your roster anyways, maybe you find a way to get him into your lineup. But it's Rashid Shaheed for the Seattle Seahawks, and I know it's going to be his first game over there, but we've seen that the Seahawks have a penchant for wanting to throw the ball deep, set up the play action deep pass. They are able to do it pretty well with Torrey Horton last game, getting a couple touchdowns there. It's just you got to think they make this trade for Rashid Shaheed and they want to go show off the brand new shiny toy a little bit, get the fans excited, get the team excited. Even if he doesn't play a full allotment of snaps, I think there's going to be some design plays for Shaheed to take the top off. That's why you go out and you get a player like this. You see what Torrey Horton can do and you go, let's get a guy that's even more explosive and see what we can do there. Sam Darnold, when throwing deep, 15 plus air yards, he ranks top 5 in yards per attempt, fantasy points, completion percentage, passer rating, and touchdown passer rate. So Sam Darnold, the deep ball king this year.
Last year, Rashid Shaheed in the first 5 games of the season. Remember the offensive coordinator last year for the Saints? Clint Kubiak. Now the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. I think this was a very intentional move. Rashid Shaheed last year, through the first 5 weeks, had 70 plus receiving yards in 4 of those 5 games. He scored 3 touchdowns. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that to me is where we're really going. Like, I think he might play a full allotment of snaps because he already was in the install last year. He knows the playbook. He knows what his role is going to be. And we saw Rashid Shaheed last year just torching defenses in this Clint Kubiak offense. So definitely not concerned about JSN. Like he's going to continue doing what he is going to do. But my goodness, like upgrading, like Rashid Shaheed can. That I think we're going to see Cooper Kupp basically finishing out his time with Seattle as a glorified tight end. He's going to be blocking a lot. And I think Rashid Shaheed and Torrey Horton, like if you can get a 3 wide receiver set out there with Torrey Horton, Rashid Shaheed, and JSN, I don't know how you possibly can defend that. One other thing I'll say, JSN, there was a knock during the combine because he ran a slow 40 time. Well, I am so thankful that we live in this era where we have, all of these ways to like measure speed on a field. And somebody pulled it out the other day that his top speed has gone up every single year that he has been in the league. And his estimated 40 time now, like he is much faster now than he was when he came into the league. And they're saying that he's got an estimated 40 time that would be like somewhere around 4.3. So JSN got this like weird knock through the draft process for not being fast. Well, the data now backs it up that he's one of the fastest players out there.
Keep going in a couple of years, it'll be at a 4.1. He's just going to keep getting faster and faster.
Yep, that's how it works.
Well, Dave, we did it, man. We went through all the running backs, the wide receivers, went through over 70 plus players here. And hopefully we gave all of you watching or listening some sleepers, some flex plays, some guys that you can start this weekend in week 10. Really hope you guys can all come out with a win. Dave, we're going to be back again on Monday giving our reaction and takeaways from week 10. And we'll do this all again. Waivers, trade targets. This time we're going to look at some playoff stashes next week. Dave will keep his stash for that episode. See what I did there. And then the week 11 starts in sleepers. So as always, I want to thank everybody for watching or listening all the way through. For myself, for Dave, we'll see you next time. Adios.